To be honest, without Rupert, I don't know where I'd be right now.
Rupert's Kids is, in my mind, an organization that kind of picks up broken lives and puts them back together. They're the ones that they're really good people, but just made a mistake somewhere along the way, and they just need help putting everything back together and giving them the life that they originally were on track for and then got off track for whatever reason.
Years ago, I was one of our kids that we work with. But back in the 60s and 70s, we didn't destroy people's lives. We didn't, grab them for one little misstep of hurting yourself and throw them into the detention centers. We took them home to their parents. We told them, I don't want to see you back out on the roads tonight. Go home. Or we took them home. And life went on. Now we'll take a young man or woman and for doing something, hurting themselves with booze or pot, we create a career criminal. We create their life in the detention centers. We start showing them, we try and beat people into submission. I, years ago, said if we want to really change the system, we have to empower our young men and women to believe in themselves and want to be a part of society. The whole point of Rupert's Kids, the whole reason why it started, is because there's a great need out in the community to empower our young men and women.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like that tennis player that grunts every time they hit the ball. You want to grunt every time you throw a load out.
I've been working for Rupert since August of 2016. I'd gotten into some trouble right before then, getting divorced with my ex-wife, things like that. Had a couple cases against me. Spent thousands of dollars trying to stay free while on house arrest, everything like that. And I hit my lowest point beginning of August. Ended up getting sent to the mental institution for a suicide attempt. And that's when I found Rupert's. And he gave me a job, place to live, got me back on my feet. Now here I am a year and a half later. I'm still working for Rupert. I have my own place. I manage the arcade here for him. I've paid off thousands to house arrest, thousands to probation, hundreds of dollars getting my license back. A good $3,000 or $4,000 worth of debt just working the program here.
At the probation department, we have several different agencies that we work with, that we send people on probation or house arrest to address problems in their life, whether it be substance abuse, which is a huge struggle that everybody has on probation, it seems like, domestic violence counseling, financial literacy, learning how to manage your money, anger management programs. And so I think that when we got introduced to the program that Rupert has started, I think that what caught my attention the most was the employment side of it. So we don't have any programs where we can send people to and say, and then they can go and get a job. There's agencies like Work One or like the staffing agencies, but sometimes you find barriers amongst those too. So specifically, I have somebody on probation where, John, you told me, I cannot find a job. I've got theft charges. I've got battery charges, I've got drug charges, and it's really hard for people that have felonies on their record to find employment. And literally, you know, he told me he could not find anybody to hire him. And in my opinion, having a job is that first turnaround. I mean, if you can get a job and hold a job, have a schedule, wake up every morning knowing that you need to go somewhere to work, and then the whole income aspect of it too is extremely important. And I think that once people can get a job and hold a job, that kind of turns everything else around. So when people come to me and say, well, Elsie, I can't find a job, nobody will hire me because of my criminal record, or because, you know, I don't have any prior job experience, we run into a barrier, and it's hard, and we're stuck.
I had a situation the other day. One of our participants called and said he had to quit his job where he was just because the pressure, the negative pressure there was too high.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, I'm gonna go over to Rupert's and see if I can get a job over there. And that afternoon he was employed and ready to go again.
Yeah.
So that's like emergency surgery there. You can't have that gap between employment. You know, the guy needs to keep the schedule going. He needs to keep the income coming, and Rupert's has been there to pick up the slack on that, and that's awesome.
I'm glad that it's dried out a little bit and it's not so clayey.
Steve is one that helps me teach our young men and women the social skills that you need to be out in the community. We're not always socially correct when we're around, and I use Steve and Betty's house here to remind them how you act in a client's home, how you act when you're working with people, how you conduct yourself. When you've never been taught that, it's kind of tough.
Well, remedial education.
Yeah. So one of the things we do on Mondays and Wednesdays is one of the Paneras in Indianapolis gives me all the bread that they don't sell on Sunday and Tuesday. So on Monday and Wednesday, we bring it out here to the food pantry, give it away.
We greatly appreciate Rupert's Kids for they're always bringing stuff to us, bread, and we give it out to our clients. So we really like how they give back to the community.
I don't think I need it.
I understand that.
When we got this house, the person that had it before was a hoarder. It took two 40-yard dumpsters just to empty the house out and get it cleaned up. Then when we started realizing that the structure is not good and like this main support is bowing, to fix this house, just like you're gonna see downstairs in the foundation, we go from the foundation to the roof and make everything solid, nice, beautiful, and then put them back into the community. It's a big project. His foundation was not made correctly. What we have is the front door sitting right here and no support really under the front door. And then this is the front porch. It was created so that this was supposed to be living space. But then they made it a front porch. It made it so that the water all got in here and rotted the whole thing out. What we're doing is digging all the dirt that is washed in over the last 50 years back out of here, coming in, redoing the foundation under this, filling all the walls and creating all the walls solid concrete, and then laying another foundation right up against that. Double wall, like I say, another 100 years of use out of this house once we get done. So we're hanging out up here in the reentry program for females. We still have to get climate control and we still have to get our water. We've had this place for about 1.5 years now and been cleaning it up, restoring the plaster walls, bringing everything back, stripping everything down off the floors. We've got them covered right now, but we want to keep the nice hardwood floors nice after we uncovered them. But in this area, years ago, this was set up as the house of ill repute. But that gave us a lot of sleeping rooms. We've created 4 sleeping rooms in the back and then a 1-bedroom apartment in the front that's going to be that office manager, that property manager, that RA, that house mother that just kind of makes sure everybody's okay. That everybody's in by 10, that the lights are off, that everybody's up by 8 and out and off to work. Just kind of making sure. 2 o'clock in the morning can be a really hard time. It's good to have somebody around.
And we got rock glasses. Okay, good. Very good.
As we come across places that have the future of Rupert's Kids is really destined for every city USA. Every community has an overcrowded detention center. Every community has abandoned warehouses, has abandoned properties. Every city is struggling with re-entry programs and vocational training, a path as you're coming out of the detention center to actually succeed, not to just fall back into that revolving door and get thrown back into the system, but actually make it. I see in the future Rupert's Kids being nationwide. Shoot, after Survivor, I used to say, you give me 10 years, we will be nationwide. Who wouldn't want to take the program? Who wouldn't want to help make their community great? In the next, hopefully 10 years, we do start spreading nationwide. With what we're creating here in central Indiana, with that template, that skeleton structure of the reentry program that is done with no government dollars, just community support, every community, I hope, takes it.